good morning, folks. Hi, this is Bill Johnson, and I'm running for Congress. I suspect that many of you on this call have heard from me before in one form or fashion, but I'm looking forward to this morning's call. We're going to give it just another minute or two to let people get on the call. We're dialing a number of households this morning so that we can have a very in-depth discussion about the issues that concern you folks. And let me go ahead and tell you now how you can ask a question. If you'd like to ask a question about anything, simply press 0 on your keypad on your telephone, and you'll be placed into the question queue. You will not be disconnected from the call at all. So any of you that have a question, you can begin asking those questions now, and we'll get them queued up. But we're going to give it another minute or so, and then we'll get started. So please don't hang up. Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. We still have callers joining into the call, but we'll take them in as they come. Again, I'm Bill Johnson, and I'm running for Congress here in the 6th District of Ohio, and I want to wish each of you a very good morning. Hopefully you've had your coffee, and you're ready to settle in and talk about issues that are important to you. For some of you, this may be the very first town hall that you have participated in over the phone. So let me tell you a little bit about how this works. First of all, it is toll-free. You will not be charged anything for this call. Want to make sure you understand that. I will be live on the call for the entire time. It will not be a staff member. It will not be anyone else. It will be me. Because I work for you. It's not the other way around. And I believe strongly if you're going to solve problems, first of all, you have to understand the problem, and to understand the problem, you got to be willing to listen to the people who are experiencing the problem, and that's where this dialogue and communication comes in. It's very important to me to be informed about what concerns you so that I can do a better job of being your voice. You'll be able to ask me questions anytime you'd like. All you have to do is press 0 on your keypad, and that will place you into the question queue. And then once you ask your question, you'll be placed right back into the call. You will not be disconnected. And as we go along in the call, I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions as well, just to stimulate our conversation and to give me some background information on who we're talking to. And none of this information, by the way, will be used. We don't store this information. We don't collect it. It's just a way for me to know what's on your mind. You know, these telephone town halls are a great way for us to have a very open and honest dialogue about what's going on in America, about America's future. It's also important that we hear about the issues that are important to you and everyone else across eastern and southeastern Ohio. Today, I'm going to start off by discussing some things that I think are important to you, including the need to strengthen and preserve Social Security and Medicare. And as a reminder, you can ask me questions about these topics, about Social Security and Medicare, or any other topic. All you have to do is press 0, and you can get into the question queue, and then you'll come right back into the call. You can also learn more about my position on the various issues by visiting my website at www.billjohnsonleads.com, and you can go out and visit my Facebook page as well by searching Facebook for Bill Johnson Leads. Before we get started, taking our first caller, let me ask you a quick question, and then we'll get started. Which political party do you most closely identify with? Press 1 on your keypad if it's Republican. Press 2 on your keypad if you're a Democrat. Press 3 on your keypad if you're an independent. That information just informs me and helps me understand who we're talking to. That's all. It will not be used for any kind of recontacting or statistical purposes. It's just to help me understand who's on the line and who we're talking to. So we're going to start taking calls here in just a moment, and let's get started. We'll talk to Hal down in, let's see, Hal, where are you from?
In Negley.
How you doing, Hal? Good to talk to you this morning.
Good. Yeah. Well, was that a question?
I'm here. Go ahead, Hal.
Yeah, I was wondering if you got any plans for getting the Medicare Advantage stuck back in that the president stole from us, and we're like kind of really hurting now. I don't know if it's because of that or what it was, but my wife went in the hospital, and it says in my stuff that I get from Medicare, it says I get like 3 months hospitalization.
Yeah.
And she was in there for a month. They denied her, so they kicked her out. And I'm now self-paying at a rather expensive, well, they're all expensive, skilled nursing facility. And I just wondering if you can straighten some of this mess out.
Well, we're going to try, Hal. Thank you for that question. It's an important one. I've got an 82-year-old mother, Hal, and the first call that she made to me after I was elected in 2010 was not to say congratulations. It was to say, okay, son, what are you going to do about protecting my Medicare and my Social Security? So, Hal, I've got an 82-year-old mother that certainly keeps me honest, keeps me grounded. Those are important questions for all Americans, but let me address specifically your question on Medicare Advantage. You're exactly right. The Obamacare, the President's health care law, cut over $700 billion out of Medicare. $200+ billion of that came out of Medicare Advantage that many of our seniors here along the Ohio River are enrolled in and depend upon. I've actually got a piece of legislation, bipartisan, by the way, that is working its way through the House of Representatives right now. It's called the Seniors Fairness Act, and that would essentially replace that money, the over $200 billion that the president cut out of Medicare Advantage. It would replace that money by eliminating a subsidy in the Affordable Care Act, in Obamacare, and put that money and give it back to the people that it actually belongs to our seniors. So I'm going to continue working on that. It does have bipartisan support, and I'm optimistic that after the election that we will get more people in the House and in the Senate that believe like I do, that it's important that we protect these safety net programs for our seniors. I don't know about you, Hal, but I can tell you that my mother gets offended when people refer to Medicare and Social Security as entitlement programs. Those are benefits that seniors have paid into, and now it's the federal government's responsibility. The president, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and we in the Republican-led House, it's our responsibility to make sure that Washington keeps the commitment that was made. Those are benefits that you have earned. That's why I have supported, Hal, by the way, every budget since I came into office in 2011, both strengthened and preserves the Medicare fund for future generations, and make sure that current seniors, those who are 55 years of age and older, do not see any changes in their Medicare benefits. And the reason for that is because Medicare is going to go bankrupt by 2024, and we need to make sure that money is there, because it's money that you and all seniors have invested in. So I'm going to keep working on that. Hey, if you'd like to make a call, press 0 on your keypad, and we'll get you into the question queue. We're going to go talk to Jean down in Salem. Hi, Jean. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
What's on your mind this morning, Jean? Thanks for joining us, by the way.
I'm upset with the Republican Party. They have not been active. You're about the only one who is a household word. And I'd like to know why they aren't out there contrasting themselves against the Democrats. They're just sort of rolling over and sitting in their corner with their blanket.
Jean, I can't explain why some candidates do things and other candidates don't. I really don't know. I can tell you that in this district that runs from about an hour outside of Cleveland to an hour outside of Cincinnati, and as far west from the Ohio River as Zanesville, that's almost 3/4 of the way to Columbus from the river. My goodness, it's a quarter of the state geographically. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks a few minutes ago, I think if you're going to be a problem solver, if you're going to solve problems, you first have to understand the problem. And the only way to understand the problem is to listen to the people who are experiencing the problem every single day. And that's why these calls are so important to me. And that's why I personally am on the call the entire time, because I need to hear from folks like you, Jean, that are having the problem. So I will certainly spread the word to my colleagues, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. They need to be communicating with the people that they represent, because that's what we are there for. So I appreciate that call. I'm going to keep doing this. This outreach has proven very, very effective for thousands and thousands here along the Ohio River, and I get very, very positive feedback. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Hey, let me ask my question again before we go to our next caller. Which political party do you most accurately identify with? Press 1 on your keypad if you're a Republican. Press 2 if you're a Democrat. Press 3 if you're an independent. I appreciate that feedback. Let's go to Joe. I think it's Joanne down in Salem. Hi, Joanne. How are you this morning?
I'm fine.
Have you had your coffee?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me what's on your mind.
Okay. I've talked several times with you about the immigration and other things. And I'm going to be just like Jean, your last caller. I'm very upset with the Republican Party. I don't see where we're getting – I don't have any hope for this election, for this midterm or for the presidential. I don't understand why the Republicans aren't doing anything. To me, I'm going to be like Jean. They're just rolling over with a blanket and not contrasting themselves with Obama. We have Ebola coming into this country. We have illegals coming into this country. We have children that are in the hospital with a virus, and 4 children have died from it. I'm upset with what's happening over in the Middle East. We're not supporting our ally, Israel. Our president is doing absolutely nothing, and it terrifies me. I see our country going down the tubes. This is not the country that I grew up in. I don't know this country anymore. And I'd like to know what Republicans plan to do, because I just have no hope at all that you're going to
Joanne, let me try to answer that, and let me try to give you some hope, Joanne. First of all, let me try and describe a little bit about what the problem is and why you're not the only one that is frustrated and that is concerned about the direction of our country. But, our founders put a system in place that requires a system of checks and balances. For that system of checks and balances to work, both chambers of Congress has to work together. They have to work together in order to hold the chief executive accountable and make him do his job. We've had a dysfunctional Senate now for 6 years under the leadership of Democrat Majority Leader Harry Reid. I can't tell you what's going to happen in November. I don't know who the Republican nominee is going to be for president. I can only tell you the kind of president that I believe that we need. We need a president that will put his mind, his heart, and his backbone, or her, into the job to make the tough decisions that have to be made. Part of the problem, Joanne, is that we fight an uphill battle on getting our message out. The message of smaller government, of a strong national defense, of a job-creating economy, of energy independence. It's tough to get that message out when you have a national media that is so closely aligned with the liberal left in everything that it does. So we are constantly fighting an uphill battle. I agree with you that we've got to do a better job of messaging those principles that we stand for because, at the end of the day, when you sit down and talk to most Americans, you say, do you want more government or less government? Most people say less government. Do you think Washington should live within its means like you have to? Most Americans say absolutely yes. And do you think that America should become energy independent and not rely on foreign sources for our fuel and for our energy resources? Most Americans would say absolutely yes. And so those conservative Republican principles that we stand for, most Americans actually stand for those. It's the problem of getting that message out. But more and more Americans, and if you look at the president's approval rating or his disapproval rating, which is staggeringly low, the majority of Americans believe that President Obama has not done a good job, is not doing a good job, and they share your concern. Let me leave you with this, Joanne. We can do better. If you go back and you look at American history, you'll find that there are far more examples of victory than doubt and defeat and despair. America has always been able to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps when we are down, snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. We did it in the Revolutionary War. We did it in the War of 1812. We healed our wounds after the Civil War. We fought off tyranny in World War I, World War II, and we've done it in major conflicts since then. And I can tell you, we will get through this because as Americans, there's something that happens to an individual when they are empowered to pursue their dreams and ambitions on their own terms. They don't like it when big government comes in and starts trying to tell them what they can and cannot do and starting to put restrictions on those liberties. We will get through this, Joanne. I'm going to fight for it every single day, and I encourage you, please don't give up hope. We can do better. We will do better. And I'm going to be there fighting on your behalf. Hey, folks, let me ask you another question before we go too much further. What method do you plan to use to vote in the November 4th election? Press 1 on your keypad if you plan to vote absentee by mail. Press 2 on your keypad if you plan to vote early in person at your county board of elections. Press 3 if you plan to go to your polling place on election day. And press 4 if you plan to not vote at all in the November 4th election. And if you've just joined us, please know that you can press 0 at any time, and that'll put you into the question queue. We'll take your question, and then we'll put you right back into the call. By the way, I see that a number of you have indicated that you do not plan to vote in the November 4th election. I certainly hope and encourage you to change your mind. If you don't take away anything from this call, just know that your voice is important. Your vote is important. And I'm not telling you who to vote for. Certainly I hope that you will consider supporting me as your representative, but you have a responsibility as the board of directors to let your leadership know what you think, and that's done through your vote. So I hope that you will go out and get registered to vote, and I encourage you to do that. So please do. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, press 0, and we'll get you into the keypad. Let's go talk to Karen down in St. Clairsville. Hi, Karen. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine.
What's on your mind this morning?
Well, I'm hoping everybody does get out to vote, but my question is about the coal mines. I want to know what is being done to protect our coal jobs.
Well, I tell you, Karen, what I'm doing specifically to protect coal jobs is I'm leading the effort in the Republican House against the president's war on coal. I've had a piece of legislation called the Stop the War on Coal Act that has passed the legislation by on a bipartisan basis that would stop the president from essentially shutting down underground coal mining in America. In addition, I am pushing back strongly against the EPA and their regulations that threaten to shut down coal-fired power plants. Most Americans have no idea that their energy, the majority of the energy, 67%, by the way, in Ohio, comes from coal-fired power plants. How in the world can the federal government justify shutting down coal-fired power plants when there's nothing there yet to replace it? My goodness, in this last winter, what experts called a polar vortex, we were one coal-fired power plant away from rolling brownouts and blackouts, rationing of energy, periods of time when people would not be able to burn their furnaces to heat their homes. That is not the kind of America that we grew up in, and I'm certainly not going to stand for it. We're going to continue to address this war on coal. We're going to stop it. You know, we've got 3,200 coal miners here in eastern and southeastern Ohio. And if you use a very conservative 3-to-1 ratio as to how many other jobs like restaurants and laundromats and food marts and those kinds of things that are required to support the coal industry, if you use a 3-to-1 ratio, you're talking about 12,000 to 15,000 jobs right here along the Ohio River that's at risk. And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce says that over 700,000 jobs in America are attributable to the coal industry, and that these EPA rules that are being proposed would threaten over 200,000 of those jobs, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So we've got a lot of work to do, but I think people like you and others who are making their voices heard in concern about what's happening to the coal industry, I think we're going to overcome this as well. So rest assured, I'm going to stay on task. So and continue to fight the president's war on coal. So let's go to our next caller and talk to Bobby down in South Point. Hi, Bobby.
Okay.
Bobby, you with us?
Yes, sir, I am.
How you doing, buddy?
I'd like to ask a couple questions, maybe make a comment. But you ask questions, and I'm for you all the way. But and we get answers. but we don't see anything happening. Like, why is Barack Hussein Obama, his Obamacare going forward and putting people out of jobs and just costing people more money? They can't afford it. I had a lot of people come to me because I'm pretty active in the politics. I try to find out the history of things and try to work it out that way. But why is it still going forward? And
here's the reason. Here's the reason why, Bobby. Here's the reason why, and I really appreciate your question because it gives me an opportunity to explain something that you said that you're very involved in politics. So I suspect you already know this. The system of checks and balances, our ability to rein in the president and to make the president do anything requires both chambers of Congress to work. We have had, I have voted some 40 plus times to repeal Obamacare and replace it with patient-centered solutions that put medical and healthcare decisions back in the hands of patients and doctors, not unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. There have been over 380 pieces of legislation just since January of 2013 that have been passed by the U.S. House of Representatives that sit collecting dust in the Senate. So the short answer to your question, why isn't something being done? It is because we cannot get cooperation from the United States Senate to do anything. Remember, my oath of office, the office that you elected me to, the office that you sent me there to fill, to be your voice, the oath of office says this: I had to swear that I would support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the oath of office. My job is to adhere to and support and defend the Constitution. And the Constitution gives a very disciplined process on how we make decisions in America. And the way we rein the federal government in and the way we rein the president in is by passing legislation, by taking action as the House of Representatives in collaboration and cooperation with the Senate to get that done. But we're not getting any help from the Senate, Bobby, and we have not been getting any help for 6 years. I appreciate that question. We are going to continue to work to rein in this president. That's why you see that lawsuit. I'm sure you've probably heard about it on the news. The lawsuit that is challenging the president's violation of the law with his unilateral delay of the employer mandate under Obamacare, that is moving forward. It's the first time in American history that the U.S. House of Representatives has sued the president in order to make him comply with the law. And I'm hopeful that the courts are going to consider this measure and that the Justice Department, the judicial system, will do what it is supposed to do, which is support and defend the Constitution, just like I've sworn to. Hope that helps answer your question a little bit, Bobby. I understand your frustration. I'm as frustrated as you are with our inability to get anything done because of a dysfunctional Senate, but that doesn't mean that we can't, that we shouldn't keep trying. You know, the only way America loses, Bobby, and everybody on here, I hope you listen to this, the only way America loses is if we throw in the towel and we quit. The only way the world loses is if America quits. There is still a world out there that is looking for and desiring for America to stand up and lead. And we've got a president right now that doesn't know how to lead, doesn't want to lead, and we're going to have to get through this period and fight as hard as we can, and I'm going to do that every day, on issues like jobs in the economy, creating jobs, protecting our coal industry, protecting our oil and gas resources, protecting our health care system against this president that wants to take all of that away. So I appreciate that question. Hey, if you want to ask a question, press 0 to get into the question queue, and then we'll get you right back into the call. Let me ask you a question again. Here you go. Get ready to press the keypad on your phone. What method do you plan to use to vote in the November 4th election? Press 1 on your keypad if you plan to vote absentee by mail. Press 2 on your keypad if you plan to early vote at your county board of elections. Press 3 if you plan to vote in person at your polling place on election day. And press 4 if you do not plan to vote at all. And boy, I sure hope if you're one of those that does not plan to vote, I sure hope that you'll change your mind because your voice counts. Let's go to Ken down in Thurman. Hi, Ken.
Yes, Representative Johnson?
My name is Bill, Ken, but that's okay. Go right ahead.
Well, Bill, continuing with this same theme, but first of all, I'd like to thank you for your representation in Congress, representing our views in this district. And I'd also like to thank you for hosting these town hall meetings. They've been very productive for me, I think, and I hope for everyone. They give us an opportunity to hear from you and then give you feedback. I prayed for you, and I will continue to pray for you and your efforts representing us in Congress. And like I said, I'd like to maybe ask you one question with a comment. It's really the same subject, and that is, what current or future legislation do you support or that we can get behind and support to eliminate these regulatory bodies from making law? We did not vote for these folks, and they have no right to make laws. It's unconstitutional. And what can you tell us on that front?
You bet you can. That is a very good question, and I appreciate you bringing that up. There is a very specific. First of all, let me agree with you that unelected bureaucrats are not legislators. Our founders put the power of creating laws in the hands of the legislature. That's the Congress. That's the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the chief executive is supposed to enforce and implement those laws. That's the way the system is supposed to work. They never envision an EPA or an Army Corps of Engineers or Department of the Interior or the IRS, HHS, any of those agencies legislating through regulating. So I can tell you that I'm as concerned about that as you are. Here's what we've done very specifically to take that regulating authority away from bureaucrats and put it back in the hands of the American people. It's called the REINS Act, and I was very happy and proud to support the REINS Act. The REINS Act, it's an acronym. It's REINS, and it stands for Regulations by the Executive in Need of Scrutiny. And what that legislation would do is that it would require the president and his agencies, like the EPA, to come back before Congress for approval on any regulation that's going to cost our economy more than $100 million per year. And here's why that $100 million is important. Now, I know, Ken, that's a big number to me, and I know it's a big number to you, and it's probably a really big number to everybody on this call as well. But when you stop and consider that federal regulations take over $1 trillion a year out of our economy, that is a big, big number. And $100 million is relatively a small threshold, because anytime the EPA issues a new regulation, it is a big, big number. And so it doesn't take much for them to exceed that $100 million threshold. We want to make them have to come back to the American people for approval before they start implementing these onerous regulations. I hope Ken, I hope that we're able to get some help in the Senate after the November elections, and we can begin to move forward with some of this legislation that will give us the authority to rein in the EPA and other agencies like it. I appreciate you bringing up that question. Hey, let's go to Calvin down in Lower City. Calvin, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about you, Bill?
I'm doing very well. Have you had your coffee this morning?
Oh yes, I always have coffee. Several hours before this.
Yeah, you and me both. Go ahead. What's on your mind this morning, Calvin?
Okay, you're pretty much answering the questions I was going to ask you. Both was about coal, because we notice in Guernsey County our bills keep going higher and higher, like everyone else's. Also about the health care. Under our pension, we'll have one more year of health care under our pension, and then they're going to start dropping us. But I'll be under Medicare, and then I'll just have to get some type of extension or something on that. But one of the things I'd like to encourage or talk to, I agree with the ladies that called earlier about getting disgusted. The only thing is we could do is we got to try to erase all the number of people that are pushing number 4. If we don't get out and vote, that means we're not going to be able to change what's happening in Washington. I'm a conservative Republican, and I'm just hoping that all the number 4s do go out and vote, because I'm definitely going to vote. But we're not going to make any changes in Washington until we change some of the people there. So that's about the only question I have, is we just got to stick together as Americans, and we got to make sure that not only this president but future presidents follow our Constitution, because it's being violated just about every day.
Yeah, Calvin, I thank you for those encouraging words. Like I said earlier, the only way we lose is if we give up. Our founding fathers did not give up. We cannot give up, and the world certainly does not want us to give up. I mentioned earlier the lawsuit that we've got against the president to rein in his overreach. I'm encouraged that the judicial department is going to, or the judicial branch is going to seriously consider that lawsuit. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to continue fighting against the ever-encroaching EPA. I'm going to continue trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and replace it with patient-centered solutions that give you and all Americans more choices about their health care. And I want everybody to have affordable, high-quality health care. But having the federal government run it is not the way to do that. I mean, if you want to see what we've got to look forward to under Obamacare, just take a look at what's happening in the VA. That's federal-run health care. That's not what I want. I'm a veteran, 26 and a half years, and I think our veterans deserve better than what they're getting from the VA, but the American people do not want the federal government running their health care. And I'm going to continue to fight against that. Thank you so much for your question. I really appreciate that. Hey, I'm going to ask you my question one more time for those of you that haven't had a chance to answer. What method do you plan to use to vote in the November 4th election? On your keypad, on your phone, please press 1 if you plan to vote absentee by mail. Press 2 if you plan to vote early at your county board of elections. Press 3 if you plan to vote in person at your polling place on election day. And press 4 if you plan to not vote at all. So I hope you will change your mind if you're a number 4. Thank you so much for giving me that feedback. If you'd like to ask a question, folks, just press 0 and we'll get you into the question queue. Let's go talk to Janet down in Steubenville. Hi, Janet.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. First time I had a chance to talk to you. I just want to know, how do we get the IRS off our backs?
Well, Janet, that's a complex question that's got a short answer to it, but it starts with reforming the burdensome, complex federal tax code. I am a sponsor, a co-sponsor of a piece of legislation called the Tax Code Elimination Act that would eliminate the IRS. I think we need to start with a clean sheet of paper. We need to look at how much money the federal government needs, not how much the federal government wants. Now, keep in mind, the president, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, they want a lot more money. They want to take more. I want to make sure that Americans get to keep more of what they earn and that they're able to send their kids to college, provide a high-quality lifestyle, that they're able to start a business, pursue their dreams and ambitions on their own terms. That's what I want to make sure that we do, and it starts with eliminating the federal tax code and the IRS. Now, you're not going to get this president nor Harry Reid to agree with that. That's why this November's election is so vitally important. We got to start somewhere, and it starts with reforming our tax code so that you get to keep more of what you earn, and so we can get unelected bureaucrats like Lois Lerner and others out of the way of hardworking Americans trying to make ends meet from payday to payday. I really appreciate that question. Let's go talk to Mike down in Belpre. Hi, Mike. How are you?
How you doing, Congressman?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
I have a question. Why is it that the world, and especially us, since we created it, Obama created this mess, is going to watch 60,000 people get chopped up into little pieces over in Syria now? When he could have stopped that, when the columns were going to that city, it dropped Hellfire missiles on all those columns. I mean, evil only prevails when good men do nothing. Are there no good men left in Washington?
That's a good question, Mike. Thanks for that question. I am as concerned as you are about the threat of ISIS or ISIL. ISIS stands for the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. They've now changed their name to be the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The Levant is a stretch of territory that includes Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, modern-day Israel, reaching down into the Sinai, parts of Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. They want to control the Middle East. They are brutal. They place no value on the sanctity of human life. And, Mike, you are exactly right. This could have all been avoided if the president had taken responsible action and shown responsible leadership in Iraq in the first place. We should have never left Iraq without a status of forces agreement. We should have never allowed ISIS to get the foothold that it has gotten. And the president has been, in my view, negligent in his duty in terms of standing up for our friends and our allies in the region. And now we've got this mess that we've got to deal with. And I'm going to tell you, trying to put Syrian opposition forces in place to fill the void that an air campaign led by America creates, that's not going to work either. I don't know if you saw the headlines in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, but I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal that said ISIL the airstrikes have slowed them down, but it has not forced them to relinquish any territory. And just this morning I saw on the news that ISIL has already captured a town on the Syrian-Turkish border. And Turkey is a strong ally of America. And so we've got a big problem here. And airstrikes alone are not going to do it. We've got to stop this group in their tracks because they are well-funded, they are well-resourced, they are well-trained, and they are now lining up to compete with Al-Qaeda and Hamas and Hezbollah and all the other terrorist organizations throughout the world to see who's going to be the one that tries to bring America down. And, it should cause all of us great pause to stop and think and realize that every single day there are millions across the world that wake up saying, how can I kill more Americans today? The only way to prevent that from happening is to maintain a strong national security, a strong Defense Department, and the President needs to listen to the advice of our military leaders. You've heard former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, and he was the director of the CIA as well. You've heard former Secretary of Defense Bob Gates. They've all said the same thing, and other retired military leaders have said, this requires an overwhelming force, and America is the only nation on the planet that can bring that type of overwhelming force to bear to stop this group. It needs to be an international coalition, but a lot of our friends and allies are not jumping to jump into this fight because they don't trust the leadership at the head of the class here in America. They see a president that says one thing and does another, and in some cases says nothing and does nothing. That's not leadership. So we're going to have to stay on top of this, and I agree with you. We got a big problem. Hey, folks, what method do you plan to use to vote in the November 4th election? I'm going to ask you this one more time, and then we'll close this question out. Press 1 on your keypad if you plan to vote absentee by mail. Press 2 on your keypad if you plan to vote at your county board of elections early. Press 3 if you plan to vote at your polling place on Election Day. And press 4 if you don't plan to vote at all. So that's the last time I'll ask you that question. I appreciate you giving me that feedback. Let's go to Sharon down in Jackson. How are you, Sharon? Hey, did you go to the Jackson Apple Festival?
No, sir. I was unable to go to the Jackson County Apple Festival because I have a broken back and I'm in a wheelchair.
Oh, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for that. I wish I could have seen you there, but maybe next time we can get somebody to come out and get you and take you down there.
Oh, that would be great. Hey, sir, I would first off like to thank you very much for what you're doing. And secondly, I would like to say that my 2 grandfathers were coal miners, and that's what they depended on. And I am for the coal miners. I am also for the safety of the coal miners. My other thing is, I don't see why Boehner and Obama cannot play well together. They are kindergartners out there that have more sense than them 2 right now, because all they do is fight and bicker amongst each other. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Sharon. Let me respond to that. First of all, I appreciate your support of the coal miners. I too support the coal miners. I've been down in those coal mines. I've stood alongside of coal miners, 900 feet down and 7 miles into the side of a mountain, bringing out the energy resources that we are so dependent upon every day. So I appreciate what your grandfathers did, and others since them continue to do to provide our energy. And I'm going to continue to work hard to prevent this president from destroying those jobs and destroying that industry. As for the president and Speaker John Boehner's relationship, let me just tell you this, and I tell you this because I observe it every single day. For the first year and a half to 2 years after I was elected, 2011 and 12, Speaker John Boehner made valiant efforts to work with this president. He would go to the White House, and you gotta picture this a little bit in your mind. When Speaker John Boehner goes to the White House to try and work with the president, here's what he sees sitting on the other side of the table. He's got the president, he's got the vice president, Joe Biden, he's got House Majority Leader Harry Reid, and he's got Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, and he's got House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi sitting on the other side of the table. It's 4 against 1. And the Speaker will work out a deal. And the reason I know this is because, contrary to what many people think, the Speaker does not make these decisions by himself, on his own. He will bring his ideas to our Republican conference in the House of Representatives, and we'll talk about the best solution that moves America forward. And then the Speaker goes and he takes that position to the President. Now, you don't always hear about this on the news. In fact, you very seldom hear about this on the news. And he will work out a deal with the President, and no sooner does he walk out of the room than the President has changed his mind and comes out before the American people and does something right the opposite of what he told the Speaker that he would do. That makes it very, very difficult. You know, any relationship, whether it is a work relationship or a family relationship, even a marriage relationship, requires trust. You've got to be, you might not agree with that person. My goodness, I don't agree with my wife on everything. But you know something? We trust each other. Even when we disagree, we trust each other. And that's the kind of relationship that is needed. That's the kind of relationship, for example, that Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill had. They had a trusting relationship. They disagreed, oftentimes strongly disagreed. But at the end of the day, they understood where each other stood on the issues, and when they made a commitment to one another, they kept that commitment. That's not what this president does. And so all I can tell you is that leadership is not about wearing the title or sitting in the office. It's about producing results. And that is a foreign concept to this president. He has his way or the highway, and that's not good for America. So I can only tell you that that's the realities of the situation in dealing with this president. We're going to take one more caller, Jan, down in Bloomingdale. Jan, how you doing? Jan, are you?
I'm here.
Are you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you this morning?
I'm very well. How are you, Congressman?
I'm doing very well. My name's Bill, Jan. Make it easy.
Bill. My question is, the issues keep coming out about the fact that our president seems to have more time to play golf and more time to spend on the golf course and fundraising. My question is he required, as the President of the United States, to maybe show up at the White House or at his job, like the rest of us Americans? And
good question, Jan. Very good question. And we see the same thing. It's just like the day that the president went to play golf. after conducting a news conference on the beheading of the American journalist. My goodness, who does that? It goes back to that concept that I just mentioned, trust. You know, I have been the CEO of a company. I've been the president of a private company, and I've worked for CEOs. I don't sit there and tell that CEO when he has to be at work and when he doesn't need to be at work. But I have always trusted that person to make the right decisions for our company and the right decisions for the employees that work in the company. We need to be able to do the same thing with our president. We need to be able to trust that our president has the integrity, the character, and the leadership skills to execute the duties of the office that we've elected him to. And I think, again, if you go back and look at the president's approval ratings or disapproval ratings, you will find that most Americans are very, very concerned that this president has not been up to the task. And most Americans are concerned about the kinds of decisions that he makes. It goes back to trust. And the American people have lost trust in this president, and consequently in much of the federal government. I'm doing everything I can to try and restore some of that trust. For those of you that have met me personally, you will find me a person that says what I mean, and then I do what I say I'm going to do. That's the way I was raised. That same mother that called me and made sure that I was going to protect Medicare and Social Security is the same mother that told me, tell the truth. It'll get you a lot further. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Believe the best in people, and they will usually give you the best that they have. Those are the kinds of principles that I grew up with, and that's the way I want to treat people. That's the way I want to lead, and we need a president that will do the same kinds of things. So I appreciate you asking that question, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think we had a great discussion on the issues, and I appreciate all the questions that you brought to the table. If you didn't get a chance to ask your question and you want to leave a voicemail with your question, stay on the line and you'll have a chance to do that. Remember, you can find out more information about me and my position on the issues by visiting my website at www.billjohnsonleads.com, or you can call toll-free to my office at 740-562-4114. Wait a minute, I think I just told you that's toll-free. It's not toll-free. 740-562-4114. And finally, you can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/BillJohnsonLeads, or you can follow me on Twitter at JohnsonLeads. Hey, thanks for listening today, folks. I really appreciate the feedback that you've given me. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to talk to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.